Hi everyone, welcome to the Cali Culture Podcast, episode 14, featuring guest Jason Wilson, who's the CEO of the Circle of Friends Club and SPIRITLINC, which is a dating organization based on faith and fitness. Jason has been living in Colombia for over 20 years, and he has many stories and experiences that he's going to share with us today. And by the way, Jason happens to be the producer of the Cali Culture Podcast. We're going to talk about a variety of different topics today with Jason: tourism, passport bros, the safety in Colombia, among other topics. So this is going to be a good one, ladies and gentlemen. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Cali Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Preston. This is the only podcast that talks everything and anything about Cali, Colombia. We have a great show for you today. As you heard in the intro, we have a very good guest today. It's an interesting show. If you want to travel or ultimately want to relocate to Colombia, if you had any thoughts, any plans, any ambitions to relocate to Colombia from America or Canada, you're definitely going to want to listen closely to this episode because our guest has been in Colombia for over 20 years. In fact, let's just go ahead and bring our guest in. Without further ado, Jason Wilson. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much for having me on the show, man.
And by the way, I should say, ladies and gentlemen, this Jason Wilson is our podcast manager and producer. So he's going to be our guest on the show. He has so much experience in Cali in regards to relocation, in regards to just experiences living abroad. So you want to listen to this one. Again, this is going to be a good one. So Jason, let's get right into it. First of all, thanks for being on the show. You're always on the show because you're behind the scenes, people that just don't see you. But Absolutely. It's just good to actually have you on the show as a guest and out where everyone could, get a chance to know you more and know you better. So let's just get right into it. Let's go back. What is it, 20, 21, 22 years ago?
Oh, brother, 24 years, man.
24 years ago. Let's go back. Because we know right now you're in Santa Marta, Colombia, and we want to come back and talk about your experiences there. But let's go back 24 years ago to the point where you were in the United States and you decided to relocate to Colombia. Walk us through that decision-making process and how that occurred. Tell us about that.
You know what, man? That's one of the first questions that people ask me. Why Colombia? Why did you decide to leave the States and go to Colombia in 2002 when there was nothing positive about this country at all that you could find on the internet or any place else, man? It was kidnappings, bombings, all kinds of terrorism. I mean, there was nothing good about this country. So I thought, right? But, we have several experiences from childhood that we don't really realize how they will impact us in our adult life. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go back even further, man. My mom is actually one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about everything that I'm doing right now. But the other part comes from the Lord, man. So without him, I would have checked out a long time ago, man. I would have thrown in the towel with everything that I've been through over the years. But my mother was from Brooklyn, New York. And when she was growing up, when she was a teenager, she got into salsa dancing. And so, during the time that she was into salsa dancing, you had Celia Cruz, Tito Puente, and other artists of that time period. Mm-hmm. And so, I'll never forget when I was like around 6 or 7. And by that time, we were living in Atlanta. And, I'm from Atlanta. I'm actually one of the only people that can tell you I'm from Atlanta.
And not Mechanicsville or the other suburbs, from Atlanta.
Exactly. And so one day, man, I'll never forget, she put on some Tito Puente and she started salsa dancing. And I was like, that's cool. And she was like, okay, come dance with me. I said, I don't know how to do that. And so she taught me how to dance.
Wow.
And, when I grew up, though, I completely forgot about it. And, if you don't continue the practice,
Right.
you forget it.
Yeah.
And so after I graduated from college, I started my career in fitness. And so I was a personal trainer, managed health clubs, and I had the opportunity to live in Dallas for a while. So I was in Plano, Arlington, and also Addison, Texas, working at different clubs, 24-hour fitness, Gold's Gym. And that was the last job that I had out there, was at Gold's Gym as the corporate sales rep.
Hmm.
But while I was out there, man, I had this desire to get back into the Latin culture and learn how to salsa dance. So
Hmm.
that's what I did. I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning, though. And I never forget, man, one of my friends at the club where I was working, he said, okay, so you want to learn how to salsa dance? So I'm going to take you out tonight. It was a Wednesday night. We went to this club, and man, they were professionals out there, man. There were people from Colombia, from Cuba, from other countries.
Hmm.
And I just basically sat on the sideline the whole time. And at the end of the night, my friend was like, okay, Jason, if you really want to learn, put your dancing shoes on.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're going to learn it. I said,
Right.
yeah, you're absolutely right. So what do? You go out there, you look ridiculous, man. I mean, for the first month or so until you get the basic stuff, right? But once you have that down, you can expand into other kinds of moves, right? So it was this 3 month process. It was over a summer that I learned how to dance. And so that was the beginning of me getting really, really passionate about the Latin culture in general. But while I
Hmm.
was out in Texas, man, I had friends from Mexico, from Puerto Rico. The majority of my friends, though, were from Mexico.
Hmm.
Very warm people, man. You know how people are here. I mean, very, very nice people. They invite you
Yeah.
right into their home. Hey,
Definitely.
come eat with us. Come drink with us.
Yeah.
If it's Christmas, man, like around maybe like a couple of weeks before Christmas, they invite you into their house and whatnot. You meet the whole family. I mean, that doesn't happen, bro, in the States, right?
Yeah.
And so that was one
Absolutely.
of the things that I really, really liked about the Latin culture too. So before I left Texas, I met this girl from Colombia. And at the end of that relationship, I said, you know what? I want my wife to be Colombian. And so I was at Gold's Gym during that time. And on my lunch break, me and a good friend of mine, we would go out and do like sales outreach in the business community.
Hmm.
And we would get in the car and, we would be joking around, but he would be like, man, you know what? It's a good day to quit. And I would be like, yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. And so, man, I would actually go to the library too during my lunch break. That's how old this story is. I would go to the library and look up books from Latin America and also Colombia. And I
Wow.
would visualize myself being here.
Mm.
And so, not too much longer after that, I decided to go back to Atlanta and help my mother out with. She had bipolar depression and she had diabetes.
Hmm.
So, with my fitness background and everything, I said, okay, I'm going to move back home and help her with her exercise program, diet, and everything, and see if we can, make some changes with her routine,
Hmm.
which worked. But during the time that I was there, I met my
Hmm.
ex-wife, who was actually from Bogota in
Mm.
Atlanta. And so we had a long distance relationship for a while, and we decided to get married. And I also had the vision of coming here and teaching English and having my own fitness facility in the future.
Hmm.
So that was my plan. I knew that the easiest way to get started, though, would be to teach English. And so, sure enough, I got off the plane when I got here to Colombia, and all my ex-wife's family wanted me to teach them English. you know, and so I ended up teaching for maybe a couple of years just to get my feet wet.
Hmm.
And God gave me the courage to pick up the phone book, the yellow pages back then, and look up companies and find out who would be interested in me having come to their company to teach English classes.
Hmm.
And so I ended up getting a contract at two companies. And
Wow.
I taught at those companies, which were media companies. And then I ended up going to Nortel Networks, which was a Canadian company that,
Mhm.
eventually went out of business. But I had about 15 students at this company. And one day in class, one of my students said, "Hey, you know what, Jason? You need to do something to help people more in the area of relationships." I said,
Mhm.
"You know what? You're absolutely right because all my students wanted to talk to me about their husband, boyfriend, wife, and husband in class. Right? It was never about English." And so I said, "Yeah, that makes perfect sense." And at the time, the movie Hitch was out. I
Yeah.
saw
Will
that movie,
Smith.
and I said, "Yeah, yeah." I said, the perfect thing here in Bogota would be to have a speed dating company. There was a speed dating scene in that movie. And
Hmm.
so I thought it would be a great idea for single professional people to meet that way. Um, so I just kind of like kept that in the back of my mind. And I'm still teaching English classes. And I decided to start an English conversation club at an English pub. And there's this section of town in Bogota called the 93 Park. So I started that with a group of 5 students. And the interesting thing about that was that we had a goal sheet. And I gave that goal sheet to all of my students at the beginning. And I
Hmm.
said, write down in detail everything that you want to see happen at the end of this year. All of us did this exercise. And by the time the year ended, man, everybody achieved their goals. Of course, they improved their
Wow.
English with the practice every Wednesday night. If
Hmm.
they wanted to travel, though, to France, to the United States, to take an MBA program, they did that. If they wanted to get married and have kids, they did that. I mean, it was a phenomenal thing that happened to all of us during that time. And so
Hmm.
that basically started my whole love of doing events.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
So basically, I think what I heard is it was a combination of things: the salsa culture, the dancing that really, I guess, first got your attention as a young man. You wanted to learn how to salsa dance, and then you wanted to further understand the salsa culture, and then you it sounds like you end up marrying a Colombiana,
yeah,
and then just it sounds like you were just wanting a change, which is what a lot of Americans even today is what I'm hearing a lot. Jason, is they just want to change. They want a change in pace, a change in culture, a change in energy. I think
right,
is what's driving so many people to relocate to Colombia.
yeah.
Now, so based on that, you you were there and you started teaching English, and you established yourself first in Bogota, right?
Right.
Okay. How long did you stay in Bogota?
Oh man, I was in Bogota for 16 years.
Wow.
So, if you can imagine from 2002 all the way to 2015 when I left,
Mm,
man, I saw a tremendous amount of change in the
right.
city.
Absolutely.
Also with the amount of expats that came from the United States and other countries as well. When I first got here, man, to Colombia, I mean, you can count us on one
Yeah.
hand.
It's so interesting. Like, ladies and gentlemen, I can honestly say I now know a lot of Americans, American expats or American immigrants, however you want to title it, that moved from America to Colombia. But I until meeting you, Jason, I've never met anybody who's been to Colombia for 24 years. Have lived in Colombia. I mean, you are not an expat. You are an immigrant. You are officially an American immigrant that has repositioned, relocated, and immersed himself in the culture. So you were
Sure.
definitely the first person I met that have been in Colombia for that long of a duration, which I think is absolutely amazing. And
Yeah.
that's why I highly encourage everyone, if you just joined the show, if you're thinking about moving to Colombia, but you have a lot of reservations about, can I live? Can I work there? Can I make money? Can I maintain a family? Well, Jason Wilson has done it. So it can be done. He's done it. He's went through all the trials and tribulations before the passport bros, before the mass immigration, before all the passport bros. So you're actually able to listen to somebody that has been there and done that. Now, Jason, tell us about how difficult it was to learn Spanish, because I'm assuming that you really didn't know Spanish. You couldn't speak it fluently before
No.
actually relocating to Colombia.
Well, like everybody else, man, you take a Spanish class in school and in the university as well.
Right.
You know, it's the basic Spanish. You know, you learn some grammar. I mean, it's not enough, not even close, man, to have a conversation with somebody if you go to a Latin American country. So
Yeah.
I was basically in a position where I had to learn everything from the beginning. You know, and that Spanish that we learned in school and at college, man, it
Yeah.
was Spanish. It was Spanish from Spain.
Right.
It wasn't Colombian Spanish.
Right.
So being here in Colombia, man, there's a completely different set of vocabulary and grammatical structures here that you don't see or hear in any other Latin American country.
Hmm.
But they also tell you, though, okay, if you want to learn Spanish, like the best spoken Spanish that you can learn is in Colombia.
Mm. I've heard
Yeah,
that as well.
yeah.
I've definitely heard that as well. It is interesting, Jason, that every city, almost I would say every major city in Colombia, they have a slightly different dialect. The Caleño accent is different than the
Oh yeah,
Bogota Paisa accent, and you have to learn. You have to be able to adjust your conversations accordingly. When the times I've been in Medellin, it they say some words that I'm not accustomed to. I'm
right.
completely oblivious to what the word means, or if it means different things. And so that is definitely a part of the assimilation that you had to do. And I totally agree with you. The fact that where you were 20 some years ago is where I still am in regards to Spanish. Learning Spanish is a chore. It is
Yeah,
a job in and of itself. I think the
yeah,
biggest thing too, Jason, is when you come to Colombia, uh, you have to be able to also, there's a certain speaking cadence that every city in Colombia has. In other words, the Paisa accent to me is a little bit faster than the Calino accent. So it's a cadence that your brain has to process while you're trying to communicate with this person, and that's where I run into pitfalls. But you did it, so if you could do it, I could do it. You're my inspiration, Jason.
yeah, man. It can be done. Listen, anybody can do it, but like I
Yeah,
tell everybody, okay, or I ask the question, how did you learn English?
yeah.
You know, you learn, you listen to your parents and
Hmm.
everybody else that you were surrounded by. So you listen and you reproduce. You
Right.
listen and you reproduce. Well, with Spanish, it's exactly the same thing.
Right.
You have to immerse yourself in it, and you can't surround yourself by everything in English and expect to perfect Spanish. It just doesn't work. So, the thing that I suggest is even in your Airbnb or wherever it is that you're staying, put everything in Spanish. And you will not, I promise you, you will not understand anything for a while. But, what you're going to find is that over time, you'll understand some words in here and there. But I think that the best thing that you can do now that we have Netflix, that didn't exist when I got here,
Right.
but with Netflix, you could put the subtitles in Spanish and
Hmm.
the audio in Spanish. Your brain cannot understand two languages at once.
Hmm.
So,
So
uh,
you're,
you
you're,
know,
you're that is a great point. and
Yeah.
that honestly, my engineer's brain, which I'm so partial to numbers, that's
Mm.
the hardest part for me, Jason, is to be able to just make those conversions really quick. Because that's what it
Yeah.
is, really. You're making a conversion in your brain from English to Spanish, and I agree with you. The more comfortable you get with literally sounding things out, like we learned, like you said, like we learned in English as kids,
Yeah.
that's I think that's where it is to be able to sound it out in your brain and to be able to process it, and then over time you just get more familiar with it. So ladies and
But you know
gentlemen,
what, man?
oh, go ahead,
You,
sure, please go ahead.
you know what, man? The whole thing about that whole process that stops people from doing that is being afraid of making a
Mm,
mistake.
that's it.
You know,
That's it.
you don't want to sound ridiculous. You don't want to sound like an idiot in
Yeah.
public, right? And
Yeah.
with people here from Colombia that want to learn English, it's exactly the same thing, man.
Right.
They're embarrassed about making a mistake in public. They don't want to do that. So,
Yeah.
that stops them from continuing the practice that they learn in class.
You're 100% accurate. That is honestly my problem too. Is the confidence factor, right?
Yeah.
So when I go to the gym, if I'm boxing or if I'm teaching a martial arts class, the confidence is there because I've been doing it so long. Um, if I'm writing a technical research paper, the confidence is there because I've been doing it so long. I know how to do it. But now you put myself and so many other Americans in deep waters by, like you said, not having the confidence. Because again, who wants to feel silly or embarrassed or uneducated or whatever the
Right.
word is? No one wants to feel that way. So you're exactly right. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying about salsa dancing. And that is get out there, stumble,
Yeah.
maybe somebody laughs at you. It doesn't matter. You're learning. You're in the process of learning. And by the way, every time I get on the dance floor, you remember Carlton from the Fresh Prince of Bel Air, right?
Yeah.
That's Jeremy. That's
I
Jeremy
mean,
on the salsa dance floor trying to dance salsa. So, but
that's all right though.
that's all a part of it. That's a part of
Yeah.
the acculturation assimilation process. Is you're not going to master anything overnight, just like
No.
anything else in life. You know.
The thing about that too, man, is that if you go to a restaurant or a bar or something and they have a salsa class, or
Mhm.
maybe they don't even have classes. It's just like open dancing, right? If you ask a girl to dance, I mean, she's not going to laugh at you. She respects the fact that you're making an effort,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
And so, she might even offer to help you learn while you're making those mistakes.
That is the great, excellent thing about Colombian culture
Yeah.
is I've never been to a discotheque as they're called frequently called here in Colombia where I've not reached out my hand to a Colombiana and she rejected my request for a dance. So
Exactly.
guys out there, if you listen to this and the first time you go to Colombia, ask a Colombiana to dance because that's how you learn. It's all about learning and practicing, and
Yeah.
she will help you learn. It's 9 times out of 10, she's gonna say yes and help you learn. At least learn the basic 1, 2, 3, 4 steps.
Yep.
We could have a whole conversation on this one, but I want to transfer the conversation over to Circle of Friends Club. You're a
Yeah.
CEO of Circle of Friends Club. I am very familiar with it, but I want you to tell the viewers and the audience, first of all, what is Circle of Friends, and also what was your inspiration for developing this club and this community?
Okay. So I told you that I started a speed dating company here in
Hmm.
Colombia, and we had that company from 2010 to 2015. And within that 5 year period, there were more than 200 couples that got married, probably more than that, because here in this culture in Colombia, people are not going to come back to you and say, hey, you know what? I got married at your event and I told all my family about that.
Right.
You know, it's still a very traditional culture. So, you know, that's not something that you want to make known to all your family members.
Right.
But apart from that, though, um, along that same time that I was doing all those events, people weren't necessarily interested in maybe a marriage or something serious along those lines, but just expanding their circle of friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so God gave me another idea, like around 2011, to start another community of people that just wanted to do exactly that and participate in different kinds of activities. Bowling night, movie night, maybe one night you go to a pub or a salsa dancing night, different kinds of activities, right? And so, you know, that's where my whole motivation came from to do that part. I didn't know about the whole mental wellness, loneliness piece until the pandemic. During the pandemic, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday. You know, why is it that we're suffering from a loneliness epidemic right now?
Yeah.
And we talked about some of those reasons. Another huge reason, though, that we didn't talk about was this incessant need, this obligatory almost need for instant gratification.
Yeah.
You know, with social media, we're being programmed to think that way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want what I want, and I want it now. And if I can't have it now, then I'm going to do whatever I can, put it in my own hands to make this happen.
Right.
Right. And so that's what we see happening now with these gentlemen that, you know, want to come to Colombia. They don't have any host, nobody that they know here in Colombia. They're just taking it upon themselves to jump on a flight and go to Colombia. I mean,
Right.
bruh, in 2002, I wouldn't have even dreamed of doing something like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But that's what we're doing right now, and to our own detriment, people are actually losing their lives to this kind of mindset, man.
Yeah.
And you know, especially in Medellin, and I got
Yeah.
a Morehouse brother in Medellin right now, RJ Mood. He does relocation tours in Medellin. I actually sent one of my clients to RJ, and she was one of my podcast production clients. She still has her own show right now, Bougie Baldy Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And Kelly, man, and I had a conversation a couple of years ago, and we were talking about the possibility of relocating to other Latin American countries. And she said that Ecuador was on her list, but she hadn't really put too much energy into the possibility of Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told her about what RJ was doing with his relocation tours. She booked the trip like the next day. I was in shock, right? But she booked that trip. She came down here, man. Went to the relocation tour with RJ, man. She came back, and then 2 weeks after that, she said, "Jason, I saw everything I needed to see. I'm going to relocate to Colombia, and I will be there in June." I was like, "Wow,
Wow.
yeah,
It's amazing.
yeah." And she wasn't the only person that did that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I have other friends that did the same thing. But getting back to Circle of Friends Club, apart from the loneliness, we have, you know, so many people in the States and everywhere else suffering from mental health issues, depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation. And I said that a big part of what we want to do is help people to overcome these issues.
Right.
And the whole issue is the lack of connection with each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were created to be connected to each other.
Right.
But with social media, we've been separated, we've been isolated from each other. And so one of the ideas that I have here in Santa Marta is through our community here, and I've met several beautiful people already here in Santa Marta that want to collaborate and help us host events here for just the purpose of expanding their circle of friends and doing fun activities with not just the expats, but also Colombians that actually live here in Santa Marta. So,
Hmm.
everybody's excited about this idea, man. I'm excited about it. Can't wait to get started. We're going to do the first event like within the first actually the next 3 weeks. Um, maybe like right before the World Cup starts, we'll have our first event.
Nice, excellent.
Yeah.
You know, you're exactly right. Just to reemphasize what you said earlier, our society, in particular in America, we do want that microwave success, that microwave love.
Yeah.
You got these shows, these what they call reality TV shows, and people had this false uh, perception that they can go out and just meet the first person and find love, and everything is a bed of roses, and that's not the real world. And I think that's
Right.
that's what you're indicating. A lot of the mental health. You're exactly right. In America, the divorce rate is over 60%. They were saying, I was just reading a report the other day, was saying that couples, like there used to be significant dating in the dating culture in America, but people are deciding not to be couples anymore. People are deciding to
Mm.
stay single. And, and,
Wow.
and obviously, you're exactly right from a mental standpoint. That weighs in because that is really not biblical, as you indicated, to be alone unless you have dedicated your life for service to God, and a pastor or a priest or a missionary. That's one thing, but to just be lonely and be staring at your four walls after work every day, after a while, that might be an issue. And so
Yeah.
your conduit for bringing people together, which is exactly essentially what Circle of Friends is. That's amazing. You know that
Mhm.
that 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 concept and that club and community can help to heal a culture, that's
Sure.
broken right now. And so
Yeah.
I commend you for not only doing that, but for implementing it, and coordinating activities that people can do, because people need to get off the internet, and get off
Yeah.
TikTok, get off Instagram, and get together, bond with people, and not even relationship, a man woman relationship, status. Just to meet people and talk to people, connect with other
Right.
like-minded people. That is so important. So I commend you for that.
Thank you
How,
so much,
how
man.
long has Circle of Friends been established? How long um, have you been implementing the Circle of Friends concept and activities?
Well, actually, I started a couple of events back in 2011, and like around that time, my mother, and again about my mother with her bipolar depression, there were several times that between the year of 2005 to 2011, I would have to fly home, man, to Atlanta periodically
Hmm.
because my grandmother would pick up the phone and be like, "Jason, you need to get home like right now
Yeah,
and help out with your mother because she's having another episode."
yeah,
With her depression. And so I would have to do that. I would have to drop everything that I was doing,
yep.
get on a flight and go home.
Hmm.
And bruh, it was never a situation where I was going home for vacation, to spend time with my friends, to hang out.
Right.
It was nothing like that. I
Hmm.
mean, so, it was, I think even for me, it was a traumatic experience watching my mother go through situations like that.
Yeah.
My mother was an extroverted person, loved people, loved to entertain.
Hmm.
So to watch her go through those the deeply depressive states,
Yeah.
it was traumatic.
Yeah.
And so um, I mentioned before I did a couple of events before I had to travel back home to Atlanta in 2011, and I just basically put that whole idea on hold. And I didn't do anything else with it until like around the pandemic, you
Hmm.
know. And God gave me the idea to start a podcast during that time. I knew nothing about podcasting, so I knew that idea came from Him,
Right.
right? And so I started a podcast called Living on Purpose Podcast. And Ray Leonard Jr., Sugar Ray Leonard's son, was actually one of the first people that was one of my keynote speakers at an online event that I had organized.
Mm.
And that was a crazy situation right there. But really really quick, I said, okay, Lord, I think the best way to get this whole thing started is to organize an event online. So I sent out a bunch of DMs on LinkedIn, and sure enough, he answered my DM and said, "Hey, Jason, I love what you're doing. I would love to speak at your event." I said, "Okay, cool. Proof positive, I'm doing the right thing." And
Mm-hmm.
so organized the whole event, and 15 minutes before, there's a blackout in the neighborhood where I'm staying in Bogota at the time.
Mm.
And so I had to call all the guests, let them know what was going on. Called Ray Leonard Jr. He said, "Jason, this kind of thing happens when you're trying to do something positive." And
Right.
I said, "Yeah, you're absolutely right." 10 minutes later, the power comes back on, and we're able to do this event.
Good.
So that's Sugar Ray Leonard's son.
Mm-hmm.
And months later, I wrote about this whole situation in a post on LinkedIn. And I don't know if you remember Marvelous Marvin Hagler, another
Oh
famous
yes.
boxer. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
a very famous opponent of Sugar Ray Leonard, as a matter of fact. So I had written this post, and then I see the name James Hagler on my post. He had written a comment. So I was like, I wonder if he's in any relation to Marvelous Marvin Hagler. And so I sent him a DM, and sure enough, man, he tells me, "Yeah, I'm Marvelous's son, James."
Mm.
And the crazy thing about that too, man, while I was at Morehouse, he was actually in Atlanta at the same time.
Hmm.
We never crossed paths or anything like that, but yeah, he was there.
Wow.
And so we got to talking, and I said, "Yeah, man, I started this podcast called Living on Purpose Podcast. Would you be interested in being a co-host on the show?" He said, "Yeah, sure, absolutely, Jason." So we did like 50 something episodes, man.
Wow.
Yeah,
Amazing.
with different legacy fighters and celebrities from
Mm.
the entertainment world, and I mean, it was an awesome experience.
Mm.
So through that whole experience of the podcast, I decided to do podcast production and start another podcast for Circle of Friends Club called Circle Back to You.
Mm.
And
Okay.
so, that podcast show led me up to producing your show and, actually restarting events with Circle of Friends Club right now.
Excellent. Like I said, hats off to you for doing that. And you're exactly right. I just kind of want to emphasize and touch on the fact that yeah, mental health is definitely a big issue in our society. Big issue in my family, and I will say it's not talked about and addressed enough, specifically in the American Black community. I'm sure, as you know, Jason, if you knew somebody was sort of off and we were depressed, in our community, you'd be just like, oh, just go play basketball, work, go work out, or you know, go relax for a couple of days, you'll be fine. And I think as over time, over decades, we progress and we understand now that no, you have to talk about those things, you have to address those things, you have to make sure that that person gets help, the help that
Yeah,
they need, because it is prevalent in our society, not just in the Black community, in American culture in general. People are stressed out. People are self-medicating with drugs and heavy drinking, and it's just something that we definitely need to address with things like what you're doing with clubs, with people that are coming together and saying, hey, I struggle from this as well, let's talk about it. Let's
right,
we can have a therapy session with each other by just connecting the right people. Sometimes all it takes is somebody that's been there, done that, and got through it to get the next person out of that situation. So again, I
exactly.
commend you for that. Now, I want to talk about another venture and an absolutely great thing that you have going on that you recently spearheaded and got off the ground, and that is SpiritLink.
Yes.
So I am familiar with SpiritLink. I don't know everything about it, and I would love for you to educate myself and the audience on SpiritLink and your inspiration for creating this wonderful organization, this faith-based, by the way. Tell us about it.
Well, from the whole speed dating experience, and I love that business, man, and that activity. And one of the things that I was really, really passionate about was watching that whole process during the event of a couple who didn't know each other at the beginning of that event, and they ended up connecting at the end of the night and didn't want to go home. I mean, I thought that was one of the most fascinating things about that business. And man, to be honest with you, I miss it. I mean, it was fun. I enjoyed the whole process of organizing it, watching people get together. So maybe like 3 years ago, the Lord was like, okay, I want you to get back into the dating industry. But this time, it's not going to be speed dating. It's going to be, a community where people can connect. I said, okay, well, I need a name for this. He said, well, you already got one. And I said, well, what is that? And he said, SpiritLink. And SpiritLink was actually the name of that first event that I did online with Sugar Ray Leonard. Just kind of like put that whole idea on hold, until now. And so what this is, it's a faith-based community of people that have faith and fitness as their core values. I don't know any other dating community app. Like, of course, we have Christian Cupid, right? And some of these other apps out there for Christian people.
Yeah.
But mine is not strictly Christian. As long as you're faith-based, you keep God first. God is who you believe in. That's the most important thing. And then also the fitness piece is important, because I think if you have fitness as part of your life, then you're not suffering so much from mental health issues.
Right.
And I think one of the things that makes relationships successful is having activities like going to work out at a gym, going on a hike, or some kind of outdoors activity or something like that. If you have that in common with somebody, something that you can do that you enjoy together, that keeps you together in the relationship.
Yeah.
No,
that's a good point.
Yeah. And so we have this community, and a big part of this about the whole journey of having a successful relationship and, having that develop over time. It's not an overnight thing, like some people think. So, coaching is a very, very important part of our business. We have a set of elite coaches. If you go to our website, spiritlink.com, you're going to see this on the homepage. But we have 6 coaches who specialize in different areas to give you a holistic approach to success, not only in your relationship, but in life in general. So what we're going to start doing, starting September the 13th through the 18th, we're going to have a retreat here in Colombia. And we're going to do this with Magda Juliana Diaz. She's a good friend of mine, and her parents are actually from Colombia, but she's been living in Canada for a long time, more than 20-something years. She's been in Canada. But she wants to come here to Colombia and put on a retreat with us at SpiritLink. And it's going to be for empowering you to have success in your life in general, but also in your relationships. So her podcast with SpiritLink is going to start next Tuesday, as a matter of fact.
Excellent.
So this is going to come out. This is going to come out in our newsletter actually tomorrow, and on Monday. And we're going to put on the podcast. It'll be a live stream show on Tuesday.
So, Jason, if somebody out there right now, man or woman, that is really lonely, all they do is they work out, they work, they go to church or Bible study, and they really are looking for somebody that is compatible, that helps them grow, helps them, continue to be a better person. What do you say to that person in regards to Spirit Link, and is that person a good fit, a good candidate for Spirit Link?
Oh, that's a good question. Thank you so much for asking that, man. So we do have a process to join in the community, and one of the first things that you want to do is sign up for a consultation. So once we have you sign up for that consultation, it's a video meeting on Zoom.
Hmm.
And what we want to do is first find out your dating experience, your core values, get to know you, know what you're looking for as far as the qualities in that person that you want to spend the rest of your life with potentially. And if we see that it's a good fit for you, you can join the community. We do have a membership fee, and you can pay for also the any event that you want to attend. So we have the retreat coming up in September 13th through the 18th, and the 19th will be our launch party, actually here in Santa Marta. So starting next week as well, you'll be able to go to our site. You can fill out just a short contact form. We'll have your information. We'll contact you. We'll schedule your consultation and get you going.
Nice, excellent.
Yes.
Now, do you think that is Spirit Link ideal for foreigners or for locals or for anyone that meets the specific criteria that that you and your team are going to define through the consultation? Is and the reason why I asked that question is, as you know, in Colombia there are speed dating events. There's dating organizations,
Yeah.
but it seems to be more focused on foreigners meeting Colombians. Is this more of is Spirit Link more of a worldwide, let's say, I say dating organization or dating platform, or is this specific to a specific um, demographic of people or persons in a specific country or area?
Oh, thank you for that question as well. So Spirit Link, it's open to everybody. I don't care where you are in the world. You can come to us at Spirit Link and you can join our community. And that's exactly what it is. It's not just a platform or an app like Tinder or Bumble or any other app that's out there. This is a community. You belong to a community where, yes, you can attend events, but we also have coaching that you can be involved in, retreats. If you're interested in taking a trip here to Colombia, we'll help you to organize your trip. So that there's a lot of things that we can do to make sure that you're part of a family online and then also in person if you come here to Colombia. But we want to have events in every major city of the states and every major city here in Colombia as well, and we'll expand from there.
Excellent, excellent. I tell you, I can't wait to see the rollout and the September 19th event. If certainly I would love to be at that event, and if work allows me, I definitely will be at that event because I haven't been to Santa Marta
Absolutely.
yet, and it'll be nice to spend some time in Santa Marta and obviously go to a great, excellent event. But I did want to mention something in that regard because you did mention Tinder and Bumble, and we know right now that there's a Tinder and Bumble is getting a lot of people hurt in Colombia
Yes.
from a safety standpoint. And we were talking about this earlier offline. Tinder is not safe at all
No.
in regards to foreigners getting on Tinder trying to meet Colombian women. It is not safe at all because there's been many cases. I can't even count the number of cases at this point, but there's been many cases where you have criminal organizations that are behind a profile. So you'll have a woman, she'll be legit, that woman on the profile, but she'll be linked to a criminal organization that targets foreigners and tourists. And what
Yes.
happens is the foreigner goes to Medellin, specifically, this has been happening in Medellin, Cartagena. But but really anywhere in Colombia, and it's been happening in other places in South America, other countries in South America, by the way. But what happens is these guys, they're head over heels are so lonely that they go to a profile and they meet up with this Colombian woman, or have her come over to his Airbnb. She uses a drug, and most of the audience, I'm sure, have heard this scopolamine, which is basically it's called the devil's breath. It's a drug that can incapacitate you. You're almost like a zombie. You're not in control of your physical actions or your mental actions, and can rob that person of all their belongings and their cash. Can tap into their bank accounts and then withdraw large sums of money. And even worse, sometimes what happens is they put so much of this scopolamine drug into their drink or blow it on them or whatever that the person dies. And there's been many cases of like that we know
Yeah.
of. Jason, tell the audience why SpiritLink is a safe platform. It's a safe dating platform and community, unlike Tinder and Bumble, where guys don't have to worry about those sort of safety issues.
Well, I'm also known as JW, the wingman. So you have a wingman. Again, I'm not interested in helping somebody to, hook up for a night and possibly tomorrow night. That's not my thing. If you're
Right.
interested in a meaningful, God aligned relationship that's long term, I
Hmm.
can help you. But our community is highly curated. I mean, we spend the time to get to know the people that are joining our community,
Hmm.
and that's highly valuable. I mean, there's no other community that does this. Not even Match.com or any other platform like that. I mean, if you want to join those platforms, you can join it. There's
Hmm.
no filter. There's nothing to tell you, well, no, you can't join our community because this is not a fit for you.
Right.
They're not going to tell you this.
Yeah.
So, our community is a lot safer along those lines, but also, I mean, you're going to be surrounded by good people,
Hmm.
professional people that have goals in life that want to, maybe build a company, build a community, build a family. You
Hmm.
know, so it's a lot more safe. And also, if you're really interested in having somebody long term to build a relationship with, that's who it's for.
And that's a good point. So, you know, ladies and gentlemen, they're listening. This this platform, SpiritLink, this organization, this community, this dating community, it's got safety protocols. That's what you want. You want to make sure that your life is in not in jeopardy. So you should jump on this opportunity. If you're single, you should jump on this opportunity to be able to find someone special that you know the person, this particular person is not going to try to play you for your money, or try to play you for an opportunity, or try to play you for, oh, I want to get to America. That's you don't have to worry about those things, because there's safety protocols and there's a filtering process. And Jason, you're 100% right. I'll emphasize that. eHarmony, Match.com, those are the two that I used, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. And I couldn't tell you about any of them now. But those in particular, you're right. For the most part, anyone could join. I think eHarmony was at some point a faith based platform, dating site, or whatever. But I'm not
Yeah,
sure. I think they kind of stirred away or pulled away from that now. Uh, but yeah, anybody could join. There was no filtering process, as far as I know. As far as when I remember, when I used it, there was no safety protocols whatsoever. And so, again, I will emphasize, it is, you get what you pay for, ladies and gentlemen. You get what you pay for.
absolutely.
If you pay the $10 Tinder, what I can't remember the one that allows you to be able to be anywhere in Colombia or you can be in Russia or whatever, then
Yeah.
you don't know who's at the other end of that profile. You see a pretty face, but you don't know what's behind that. So, guys, I'll say that again. You get what you pay for. You know, you should pay for something that you know is secure. It's got the right safety measures, safety protocols. Because I'm telling you guys, there's a lot of guys that are losing their life in Colombia trying to find that special woman. It is not worth that. Don't play with your life. Do you have anything to add to
Yeah.
that, Jason?
Yes, I do. We were talking about this yesterday, man. And I don't mean to laugh, but I mean it's a very very serious situation. But recently, man, five guys said that okay, well, to avoid this happening, we'll go out in a group. We're not going to go out by ourselves. There were five guys that went out
Mm-hmm.
to a club and met up with five girls and
Mm-hmm.
brought all of these five girls back to their Airbnb. And what happens? Every single last one of them woke up the next day, man. Everything was stolen from them,
Yeah. Yep.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God they woke up. So every preventative measure that you can come up with that would possibly stop something like that from happening. That criminal organization that's in charge of those girls and everything, man. They have a countermeasure for every preventative measure that you can come up with.
Mm-hmm.
So again, man, just like you just said, it's not worth it. It's not worth your life, putting your literally your life on the line.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
not
you're
worth it.
exactly right. And I'll say just to add even further, um, in particular, some of the guys that this is happening to, Jason, they're our age, in their 40s
Yeah,
and almost in their 50s. So, guys, at some point we have to be mature. I can sort of understand. That's why I don't want this to happen to any American, young or middle age or older or whatever. But guys, at some point we have to be mature. We have to take responsibility for our actions. And if you're 40 years old, you shouldn't be bringing home a Tinder date. Point blank, period. Let's just be honest. Let's just be real for a minute. You should not be meeting up with her and then bringing her back to your Airbnb, because you should have had a level of maturity that a pretty face is not always the best thing that I need. I
yeah,
mean, think about this. A lot of times, that's why it's good to be a part of a faith organization. Is you can pray over these situations. You got to think with this head, fellas, not the other one. If we were going to be just completely honest, right?
yeah.
So that is important, and which leads me to we could talk about this all day. And Jason, we're going to have to dedicate a whole episode to this very topic because it's
Sure.
happening way too much. But I
Yeah.
did want to talk about the passport bros just for a second. And we've already kind of touched on this, but um, mainly this is happening to a lot of passport bros. And when I say passport bros, I mean the new passport bros. Passport, I don't even like to call it passport bros, but there's been guys from America have been traveling to other countries for decades, Jason.
Mhm.
This is
Yeah.
not a new thing. The only reason it's new is because of social media and these particular immature guys that are carrying themselves in a certain way and getting in trouble or getting themselves drugged. There's been guys, mature tourists, that have been going to countries for years. Jason, you went to Colombia before this whole passport bro was even movement was even a thing. In fact, before a
Absolutely.
lot of people were even going to Colombia,
Yeah.
you went. So the whole thing about, well, guys shouldn't travel. No, I look, guys should absolutely travel and expand their horizons and date other cultures and understand what they want out of life. Not only from a dating standpoint, but also from a life standpoint. Do you want to be in a different culture? Do you want to learn a different culture? Do you want to learn a different language? Do you want to learn how to salsa dance? it helps you diversify and expand your horizons in life. That is living in a different country. However, Jason, there has been this new breed of passport bros that are getting themselves in trouble, that are starting fights overseas, that are loud, obnoxious. What do you in your 24 years in Colombia?
Mhm.
Why is this becoming such a thing that's turning off Colombia to a point where they're telling passport bros to leave? Why is this happening? And do you think this is the end of the passport bro era?
Well,
The new
like,
passport bro era, just to clarify.
right. Well, within the past 2, 3 weeks, we've seen a lot of changes in Medellin.
Yes.
Uh, I mean, they have police, camping out in Parquejeras now. So
Yeah.
you can't even stand around there without them asking you for your ID, your
Hmm.
passport.
Hmm.
So it's a completely different situation now. However, you can still go to a club and get in trouble.
Right.
You know, so do I want to see this come to an end? Yeah, because I think it hurts tourism. And what we really want to see is mature tourism come here to the country and
Absolutely.
have something of value to add to the community. And
Right.
Colombians, man, they love American people. They love people from other countries as well,
Hmm.
right? Because they want to be cultured. They want to learn new languages. And of course, that opens up doors to new opportunities for them. But if we come in here and with something in mind so simple, like, okay, well, we want to get a prostitute for the night and take advantage of somebody. I mean, dude, why travel overseas for that
Right.
purpose?
Right.
You have nothing of value to add to the culture.
Right. And
Yeah,
even worse, just to add to that, even worse, put it online, put it on YouTube. Okay.
exactly.
If you're gonna have that kind of behavior and that's your main goal, guys, do it in silence, because that's when
Right.
you do. And again, I want to. I'm going to preface by saying I do not advocate that at all. But I'm saying when you're putting on YouTube, you're exploiting a certain part of the culture that is not the representative of that country. That's not the representative of that country or those women in that country. So
Right.
when you do that, yes, you're gonna infuriate the masses of people in Colombia. Absolutely. And it'd be the same way in America, to be honest with you. It'd be the same way if foreigners from another country came to America and exploit this one piece of negativity in American culture. We'd be mad. As Americans, we'd be
Yep.
mad. So,
Absolutely.
so put yourself
Absolutely.
in their shoes, how they would feel when you have Americans that are acting like that. And I think if you do that, then it will help you understand why yes, there's a little anger and resentment in Medellin right now. Will it change? I think it absolutely will change. I think everything has to go through a change and sort of a reset process.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Medellin is going through a reset process. And once this is reset, and you get less of the riffraff and the nonsense, and more, but like you said, Jason, the mature tourists, Medellin is going to
Mm.
be a great city like it's always been. It's been what the city of Eternal Springs, beautiful
Right.
city, beautiful people, beautiful culture. It's going to return back to the Medellin that we know of, that we went to visit years ago. I'm confident it will.
I think so too, man. I think so too. And I think, well, I know that Colombians feel exactly the same way. And apart from the whole situation with the prostitution and everything, I mean, it's jacking up the prices of real estate and everything else. I mean, people can't even afford a regular apartment around Medellin. So I mean, it's made a lot of negative changes
Right.
in Medellin that people want to see uh, changed as well. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
I did want to shout out Christy D. Williams, and she left a nice comment. Hello, friends from Florida. Thanks for the comment, Christy, and we hope you've listened to the podcast and enjoyed the content and enjoyed this interesting conversation. And we thanks for your comment, and we thanks for your support as well.
Absolutely.
We have reached the end of the show. Unfortunately, Jason, we're going to have another show. I
Yeah.
did want you to essentially end. Well, before I do my monologue, I want you to give final words and tell us anything that you would like us, and myself, and the viewers to remember, whether it be Spirit Link or Circle of Friends, anything you want to emphasize and close out.
Sure. Well, you can reach me and Circle of Friends Club or Spirit Link. Here's our Instagram for Circle of Friends Club. It's just Circle of Friends Club, and you can go there. You can send us a DM. We'll get back to you about all the activities that we have coming up for this month going forward. And so you can reach us there at Circle of Friends Club on Instagram. And our Spirit Link website is spiritlink.com, and Spirit Link with a C at the end. So you'll see a capture form at the top of the web page. You can fill out that. It's just asking for your name and your email address. You can put that in there. We'll get back to you and schedule a consultation with you and go through the rest of the steps that are necessary for you to join our community. And we would love to have you. Because
Excellent.
again, we're interested in, making sure that if you come here to Colombia, that you're safe and that you're part of a community. You have other kinds of activities that you can take part in during your stay while you're here with Circle of Friends Club as well. So we're going to have plenty for you to take part in and have a good time, expand your circle of friends. So, ladies and gentlemen, please get in touch with us. We would love to host you.
Excellent. And I second that. These are great organizations and platforms and communities to be a part of. They're going to do nothing but help and enhance your life. And that's what you want. You want to stay away from keeping up with the Kardashians and all of these other things that take away from your mental capacity slowly but surely. And by the way, studies have shown that it does. That those shows do that, by the way. You want to attach
Absolutely.
yourself to something that can enhance your capability from a mental standpoint, from a physical standpoint, from a relationship standpoint. These are the activities you want to be. So I highly encourage you to go to those websites and check it out. Reach out to Jason. He'll be more than happy to connect with you and get you the information that you need to proceed. We have reached the end of episode 14. Unfortunately, it's gone by way too quick. We had a lot of great discussion. I do
Yeah.
want to remind everyone that if you want to, know it's tough. It's a tough economy in America and in Colombia or wherever you are. It's tough economies all over the world. But if you want to, you can always donate to keep the lights on, keep things running, keep this good content going. You can donate. The donation information is on the screen, whether you want to use Zelle or Venmo or Cash App. Any donation, any amount helps. Again, to keep the lights on, to keep things going, and it is much appreciated as well, folks. It's been a great episode. Continue to keep following me. Continue to keep following all of the Cali Culture podcast, the Cali Culture community. We have a lot more discussion, a lot more interesting guests are going to be coming on this show and addressing topics about Cali culture and Colombia in general. So remember, when you go to Cali, Colombia, always remember to respect the culture, embrace the culture, like the culture, and obviously learn from the culture. With that being said, I'm your host, Jeremy Preston. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Remember, stay tuned for the next show, episode 15. It's going to be a great show. Have a great day. Hasta luego.
Ciao. Hasta luego.
Thank you for watching the Cali Culture Podcast with Jeremy Preston. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next week for our next episode.